class, we have been talking about these things, guys. What? Creating an instance and creating an instance, and second one is killing an instance. What do we call dereferencing an instance? So to create an instance, we require to take the help of a new keyword, and for dereferencing an instance, what we require to do? Assign null. We require to assign null. So when you assign null, what are you doing? We are dereferencing an instance. And once an instance is dereferenced, we cannot use it anymore for calling the members. We cannot use it anymore for calling the members. And when you run this, you can just notice here, first time 100 printed, second time error coming. You had an error in the runtime. Are you clear? These are the two things what I clarified for you or explained to you in the last class. Creating an instance, dereferencing an instance. Okay, next. Guys, if required, you can create multiple instances to a class. How many? Any number. There is no restriction. You have a chance of creating multiple instances to a class. Any number of instances can be created for a class. For example, look. First F1 is equals to new first. First F2 is equals to new first. So how many instances are you creating? 2 instances. When you create multiple instances, internally there is a separate memory allocation performed for both the instances. There is a separate memory allocation that is performed for both the instances. Separate memory allocation will be done like this. Are you clear? Actually, guys, do you understood? After creating an instance, why do you call a member with the instance, you know? Ray, static members you are directly calling, but non-static members should be called by using instance. Yes or not? Non-static members cannot be called directly. Non-static members should be called only by using the instance. Do you know the reason? See now. How many instances are created? Louder here. How many copies of X I have? 2. If I directly call X now, which X are you calling? Open the mouth here. You do blank basis like LKG students. Come on. Look at the picture. If I directly call X, which X are you calling? Is it not a confusion? How many X are there? If I directly call X now, it's a confusion now. Clear confusion. That is why we always call it by using a instance. This is the reason why we call non-static members by using instance. We call F1.x and F2.x. If I directly call X now, when 1 copy there, not a problem, but 2 copies. But static can be called, no sir. Static will have 1 copy only. Static will have 1 copy. Coming next class, I'm going to talk to you about the differences between static and non-static members. I'll explain you in detail about that. But non-static members, if you create multiple instances, multiple copies will be there. You created 100 instances of the class. Then how many copies of X will be there? 100 copies of X. Then if you are directly trying to call X, 100 X's are there. Which X here? So that is why you should call a member always by using the instance. F1.x. Any confusion? When I say F1.x, do you have any confusion? F2.x. No confusions now. So it's a clear indication. What are you trying to access? It's a clear indication like what are you trying to access in this particular scenario. So this is the main reason why we just require to refer to the members by using the instance. I hope you guys are clearer. Yes or not? Okay. And now you see console.writeLine F1.x plus F2.x. These are 2 separate copies. Yeah, let the output come. Meanwhile, instances are unique. Instances are unique. What do you mean by that? Instances are unique. What I mean is, a modification that is performed on the member of one instance will never reflect to second instance. If I make any changes on F1, the changes won't reflect to F2, or changes of F2 will not reflect to F1, because these two are unique copies. Are you clear? Everything is unique of itself. Changes of one will not reflect to the second one. For example, look, f1.x is equals to 200. f1.x is equals to 200. Oh, watch it now. The change is not reflecting to f2.xc. What is modified? Active here. Active, be active. Your 20s only, na? Why you behave like 50s? What is the value? See, 200 and 100. f2.x is 200. And the change did not reflect to f1.6. Is that clear? Okay. So, that's what. And same way, you try this one. f2.x is equals to 300. And the change won't reflect to f1. Watch. Are you clear? So what we understood? Instances are unique. In the sense, any modifications that are performed on the members of one instance will never reflect to other instance. Okay? How many instances can you create? Any number. Every instance is unique of itself. Members of the instance should always be called by using instance because multiple copies are there. Do you catch my point or not? One copy or multiple copies are? Multiple copies. Because we have multiple copies, you are required to refer it with the instance. This is why non-static members should always be called by using a instance. You cannot directly call because I explained you 2 weeks back when I explaining about object-oriented programming, starting here, C++, Java, on that day I said you. When you want to call the members of a class, you are required to create an instance, and with that instance only you should call. And now I said you the reason why. Because multiple instances, multiple copies, so without a confusion, instance you should be prefixed there and members should be called. But static not required because static will not have multiple copies. Yeah, going forward in the next classes, I'll teach you the perfect difference between static, non-static, when should I use static and when should I use non-static. So ignore static for the time being. All we are dealing from the last 2-3 days is non-static only. Okay? I will do a comparison between static and non-static also day after tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, I'll do the comparison part. Okay? Fine. Next. Yeah, I hope these 2 points are clear. 2 instances. And now, see guys, you made a modification here, this change. You made a modification here, this change. This is separate, this is separate. Changes are not reflected. Okay? Next. All of you, answer this question. What is F1? Forgot already. Online students are better than you here. They're sitting somewhere and answering the question. Instance here. What is F1? Instance. What is F2? Instance. What is F2? Today I said, you and today you forget. Variable. F2 is a, what is a variable? A copy of a class which is declared but not initialized. Uninitialized copy, we call it as a variable. When I use new, we call it as a instance. When I don't use new, that is called as a, and a variable cannot be used for accessing the members. Variable is a uninitialized copy. Variable is a uninitialized copy. Using variables, can I call members? No. We get error. When I try to say f2.x there, error will come now. See, error. What error? Last day I shown you this error also. What is that? Unassigned local variable f2. It's not assigned. Means not initialized. Not initialized. How to initialize? Or if you want to initialize, we say new first. If you want to initialize, we say new first. Guys, all of you, carefully observe. You can even initialize it like this. You can even initialize it like this. F2 is initialized. What's the output if you want? Got the output, see? Yes or not? So we can initialize the variable of a class. Listen, we can initialize the variable of a class by using in existing instance of that class. I repeat, we can initialize the variable of a class by using an existing instance of the same class. So what is F1? F1 is an instance of the same class now. With that, I can initialize. Okay? Now, just one more time. What is F1? Instance. What is F2? Wrong answer. Instance is the wrong answer. Instance. Why instance is the wrong answer? Yesterday clearly said new instances can be created only by using new keyword. For creating an instance, what is required? New keyword. Did I use new keyword on F2? Come on, fast. No, the new keyword is not used on F2. Then how are you calling it as an instance now? It's not an instance. Then what next? Then what is it? Second option, variable. It's not a variable. Why? Variable cannot be used for accessing the members, but F2.x is accessible now. So I cannot call it as a variable also. When I call variable, uninitialized copies are called variable, but F2 is not a variable. And what is it? We call it as a reference. We call it as a reference. What is the reference? Reference means a copy of a class which is initialized by using an existing instance. Understand the 3 points, guys. The 3 differences, very, very important. First one, instance. A copy of a class that is initialized by using new keyword. Variable. A copy of a class that is not initialized is called as variable. Reference. A copy of a class that is initialized by an existing instance. If I use new, that is instance. If I don't use a new, if I use an instance and initialize it, that is called as a reference. Not initialized, variable. Are you clear? So what is F2? F2 is a reference. Reference of the class. It's a reference of the class. Okay? So F2 is initialized or not initialized? F2 is initialized or not initialized? It is initialized. Okay. Now, listen to this. Basically, instance will have memory allocation. Yesterday I shown you the pictures to you. When you create an instance, memory is allocated. Variable doesn't have memory allocation. Null. When I say first F, I showed you also F is equals to null. No memory allocation. But instance will have memory allocation. What about reference? Reference also will not have any memory allocation. Reference also will not have any memory allocation. I will have a doubt. Sir, if reference doesn't have a memory allocation, how is it printing F2.x then? F2.x is printing the value. But what am I telling you? Reference doesn't have memory allocation. If reference doesn't have a memory allocation, how is it printing F2.x? There will be a big confusion in our minds. Okay? So let me answer this question. Let me answer this question, guys. How is it referring to F2.x here? How is it referring to F2.x here, basically? Okay? So just understand this particular point. How is it happening? See, all of you. A reference, if you just understand, will not have any memory allocation. A reference will not have any memory allocation. It is not going to have any memory allocation, basically. Are you clear what I'm telling you? Yes or not? A reference will not have any memory allocation. But how is it accessing the members? Because a reference will be consuming the memory of the instance using which it was initialized. F2 is initialized by F1 now. So F2 starts accessing the memory of F1. F2 starts accessing the memory of F1. Just all of you. Here are 2 instances, 2 memories now. Watch the picture. Did you understand me? F1, F2 are accessing the same memory. F1's memory is shared by F2. Are you clearer or not? F1, F2 are accessing the same memory. F2 is sharing the memory of F1. F2 is sharing the memory of F1. I hope you guys are clear. So that is exactly what is happening in this particular case. F2 and F1. Both are sharing the same memory. Both are sharing the same memory in this case. Okay now? So because, shall I prove you both are sharing the same memory? Shall I prove you both are sharing the same memory? Watch it. I'll prove you. How? I said f1 dot x is equals to 200. Now again I'm printing f1's value, f2's value. Earlier you remember both are two separate values, but see now. Both are same. Why both are same? Array, when both are accessing the same memory, values will be same, na? Earlier, both are accessing the same memory or separate memory, Separate memory, but your same memory, see? I made a modification on F1, the change reflected to F2. I made a modification on F2, change reflected to F1. So this is a clear indication for us. What indication? Both are accessing the same memory. There is no difference at all. F1, F2 are accessing the same memory only in this particular case now. So that's what exactly happens to you here in this particular place. I hope you guys are clearer. Yes or not? Okay. So this is all about how we just create a reference. So remember, instances are different, reference is different. So did you understand the difference between the three things? So first one, variable. What is a variable? A copy of a class which is not initialized. So because it is not initialized, we cannot access any members by using it. Second one. What is the second one? Instance. A copy of a class which is initialized by using new keyword. You can call members by it. Reference. A copy of a class which is initialized by using an existing instance. This also can be used for calling the members. But only thing is, reference doesn't have memory. It will consume the memory of the instance. The terminology is very, very important. Are you clear? Variable of class, instance of class, reference of class. We did not assign 100, so how is it printing 100? What are you watching here? What are you watching? The top only you assign 100 there. Declaration time only you done it on the top now yesterday. That only I used. That is the value what is printed by default. Okay? Fine. Now see guys, look at this. Look here. In this case, when you modify with F1 or F2, both are accessing the same memory only. But see here, just a second. Two separate copies. F1, F2 changes are not reflecting. But here, first time you modified by F1, second time you modified by F2. But all are hitting the same value. I hope it is clear all of you. Yes or not? Okay, next. I'll ask you a small question. Now, come back. Both F1 F2 are accessing the same memory now? Yes or not? Now, all of you, concentrate on this. I'm saying F1 is equals to null. I'm dereferencing. F1 is equals to null. What I'm doing? Dereferencing. After dereferencing, is it possible to call console.writeLine F1.x? Come on fast. No. Already shown you now? Run. Error. Error. Runtime error. It's not. Guys, I cannot access F1.x now. Can I access F2.x? Can I access F2.x? Yes, CR. You're able to access. But you said you're dereferencing. You did not understand the dereferencing concept correctly. That's what I understood now. What did I say? Did I say memory will be deallocated? Did I say memory will be deallocated? I very clearly shown you now. What is the days that cannot access the memory? The link between the two is cut off, but memory is not deallocated. So when F1, F2 both are accessing the memory, if you assign null for F1, why that effect will be on F2 here? Check that. Did you understand? What you said F1 is equals to null means F1's link is cut with the memory, not F2. F2 can access the memory still. I hope you guys are clear what I'm doing here. F2 can still access the memory. The memory is accessible to F2. Who cannot access the memory? To whom null is assigned, that cannot. Understand, I did not say that is memory deallocation. What did I say? Dereferencing. We are dereferencing, separating we are cutting the link between the two things, that's all. We are not deallocating any memory in this case. Simply, the link between F1 and the memory is cut off, and F2 can still access the memory to you. Are you guys clear? Yes or not? So this is valid or invalid? Valid. What is invalid? Invalid. And you get a runtime error. Again you run and say f2.x will first print the value, afterwards error will come. Array, first x value is printed here. See there, x value printed, f2.x printed, f1.x will give you error. Are you clearer? Okay? For one memory, how many instances can be there? One only. How many references can be there? N number. For one instance, n references can be created, guys. Are you clear? Okay? So that's what. Memory not deallocated at any time. I clearly explained in the last class, memory will not be allocated when you say null. At some point of time, it will deallocate all the unused memory. So here, in this particular case, if you just understand my point here, can I say this memory is unused? Can I say this memory is unused? No. Why? F2 is still referring to the memory. F2 is still referring to the memory. Can I say this is unused? Yes. Only one, and that one is also cut off. So I can call this as unused memory, but I cannot call this as unused memory. This is not an unused memory. Okay? Any doubts? Understood the three things, all of you? So very important. From now onwards, I'll be using regularly in my jargon. I'll say variable of class. I'll say instance of class. I'll say reference of class. And don't forget, instance creation can be done only by using. Instance creation is done only by using new keyword. When I say instance, only meaning new is there. Okay, now when I say reference, new is not used. What is it? Some existing instance is used for initializing. So no memory allocation. New is there, memory allocation. New not there, no memory allocation. Means it will consume that. When I say variable, nothing initialized at all. No confusion with that. Not initialized at all. Okay now? Guys, if you just see your notes, in the notes, I printed each and every point to you with the pictures and descriptions to all. Yeah. You can see. First, variable instance. Variable instance. Next, dereferencing. Third point, multiple instances. Today I started multiple instances. When you create multiple instances, changes of one instance will not reflect to another instance. Next, what? Reference. Next, modifications of the one will reflect to the other. Okay. Finally, dereferencing one. Dereferencing one. Now see, for F2 also if I assign null, then the memory gets marked as unused. Are you clearer or not? If F2 is also marked as null, then the memory is going to be marked as unused. Okay? And in the finally, here, I have just printed up all the information. What is a variable, what is a instance, and what is a reference. All the things, I just put it over there. Clearer? This is a copy of class which is not initialized. So, by using this, we cannot call any members of that class. We cannot call any members of that class. Next instance. This is a copy of a class which is initialized by using new keyword. By using what? New keyword. And by using this, we can call members of the class. We can call members of the class by using this one. Third one, reference. This is a copy of a class which is initialized by using an existing instance. By using an existing instance of that class. And this works the same as an instance. But using the reference, is same as the reference, that is, by using the reference, that is, by using the reference also, we can call members. By using the reference also, we can call members of that class. Members of that class. Am I clear, guys? Every point along with the pictures what I'm explaining you will be in the notes. Okay, that's what I promised you on the day one. Alright, don't write here each and everything. I will give you the notes to you. What explained you will be in the notes. Concentrate on the class, that's all. Clear? Fine. Next. The next thing, guys, I want to tell you one thing here. What is that? What exactly happens? What exactly happens when we create the instance of a class? Read that, all of you. Read it. What happens internally when we create the instance of a class? I'm again telling you, instance, not reference or variable. What is that? Instance of the class. When we create the instance of any class, internally following actions will take place. When you create the instance of any class, internally following actions will take place. What are the actions that will take place? Action number 1. Reads the classes to identify their members. What is that? Reads the classes to identify their members. What is the meaning of it? Basically, no. Instance memory allocation is required now. When you want to allocate the memory, you are required to know what are the members of the class here. Without knowing the members of the class, you cannot do memory allocation. There is a cook in your home. There is a new cook in your home who joined today. Now he has to cook the food for all of you in the family. If he has to cook the food for all of you in the family, first the cook has to know what? How many members are present in the family? Did you catch my point or not? First the cook has to know how many members are present in the family. He has to know that. I hope you guys are clear what I'm telling you. What he has to know? The members of the family. How many people are present in the family? He has to know that. Hope you guys are clear what I'm telling you. Yes or not? Okay, that's what. So when he comes to know the members of the family, then he can start cooking up the food. When he comes to know the members of the family, then exactly when the memory has to be allocated, first it has to know what are the members of the class now. So exactly, that's what is it doing now? Reading the classes and identifying what are the members of the class. How many fields are there? How many methods are there? Every member, I listed you 8 members, remember? It will read up all the members and makes a note, recognizes everything. Is the first point clear? All of you, is the first point clear? What is that? Reads the classes to identify their members. What is the second one? Leave it here, I'll talk about it. Third one. This is what I explained you yesterday, today. This is what I explained you yesterday and today now. It's going to allocate the memory now. Memory allocation is performed. I hope 1 and 3 is clear for all of you. 1 is identification of the members and 3 is allocating of the memory. In between these two, another action gets performed. What is that? Invokes the constructors of all those classes. And now we'll have a doubt. What is it? Sir, what is this constructor? Constructor is the third member of our class. First member is fields. Second member is methods. Third member is constructor. The third member is a constructor. So today, let us learn about constructor. Today, let's learn about a constructor and what is the use of this constructor. Okay? All of you, concentrate on this. Constructor. This is a special method defined under a class responsible for initializing the fields of that class. Concentrate here, I'm telling you. This is a special method defined under a class responsible for initializing the fields of that class. So it's a method actually. Okay? Now we'll have a doubt. So if it is a method, what is the name of it? If it is a method, what is the name of the method now? Okay? The name of the constructor method is exactly same name of the class, which cannot be changed. And moreover, it is I already said you on the top, it's a method. It's a method. So that's where I'm pointing you. What is it? Non-value returning method. Doesn't return a value, guys. It doesn't return a value. Okay? So, it should be the name of the class, cannot be changed, and it doesn't return a value. Point number 3. Every class requires a constructor to be present in it if we want to create guys, listen carefully. Every class requires a constructor to be present in it if we wanted to create the instance of that class. If we wanted to create the instance of that class. Look at this, guys. When I say this point, we'll have a doubt. We'll have a doubt now. We'll have a confusion. What doubt and what confusion? You're telling every class requires a constructor to create an instance. Okay? But from the last 3-4 days, we have defined multiple classes in our project. How many classes we defined? We can check in the Solution Explorer. Come on. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many classes we defined? Wrong. 8. Why? In 1.5 you defined 2 classes, na? User defined the types 2 classes. How do I know that, sir? If you expand the file, it will show the classes present in it. If you expand the class, it will show the members present in it. Everything you can see in the Solution Explorer. Is that clear? So expand the file. How many classes are there? It will show you. Count now. Count now, guys. We have 2 classes there now. See? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So don't count the files. Sometimes a file can have multiple classes. Expand them and count the classes. So how many are there? 8 classes. And do you remember you created the instance of all the 8 classes till now? All the 8 class instances we created. Yes or not? We are able to create the instance of all the 8 classes. And till now, we never learned anything as a constructor, and we are able to create the instances of all the 8 classes. Till now, we did not talk anything about a constructor, and we are able to create the instance of all the 8 classes. All 8 class instances we are able to create. Am I correct or not? Tell me, guys. You're able to create or not? Okay? But suddenly, all of a sudden, you are telling without a constructor present in the class, instance of a class cannot be created. How, sir? Then already I created instances of 8 classes. We don't have anything called as constructor at all. And suddenly you came out with a point, no constructor, no instance creation. How can I take this point as valid? How can I take this particular point as valid? Because I already done. Understood me? Listen. Carefully watch this. Every class requires constructor for instance creation. Every class requires a constructor for instance creation. So it is the responsibility of the developer to define a constructor in his classes. Whose responsibility? developer to define a constructor in his classes. And if the developer fails to do so, if the developer fails to do so, on behalf of the developer, compiler defines a constructor into that classes, and we call that as a implicit constructor. What do we call? So till now we are able to create the instances of all our classes by using that. Come on guys, read that note carefully and tell me if you have any doubts on it. Every class requires a constructor for instance creation. So it is the responsibility of developer. It is the responsibility of developer to define a constructor in his classes. And if the developer fails to do so, on behalf of developer, compiler defines a constructor into those classes, into those classes, and we call that as an implicit constructor. So till now we are able to create the instances of our classes by using that implicit constructor only. Point clear for all of you? Answer here. Understood? Okay, so that's what. So till now, every day, every class you define. Tell me how many classes you defined till now? How many classes you defined till now? 8 is wrong answer. Array, you defined so many classes in the notepad also, no? You're forgetting them. Did I ask you how many classes you defined in Visual Studio? What is my question? How many classes did we define till now? So many. At least some 20-25 classes we have defined. 8 classes we defined here only. In Notepad also we defined some 10 to 15 classes. Some 20 to 25 classes would have been defined till now. Yes or not? You know, do you remember the name of your first class? Do you remember the name of your first class? I don't know guys, you people are telling you're practicing, but you don't have answers for anything. What are you practicing? I don't know. First is the name of your first class. The day when I started the programming, the first class I defined is class first. And do you remember the name of the last class you defined today? That is also first only. Unfortunately, that is also first only. Array, the last class we defined today is also first only. Are you clear? One thing is,